It's Saturday, you know what's up on the radio with the diva. 10:30 a.m. Gonna tell your friends that you on the radio with the diva.
You discover faith for the journey. I'm talking straight for the mission. Right here with Stephanie Dixon. Inspirational diva. This one for all my believers. How you learning and living right here with Stephanie Dixon.
She has it all.
Real talk, real faith, real truth.
Got it all.
Got the news, got the hits, got the scoop.
Got it all.
This the inspirational diva.
You can only tell your friends that you on the radio with the diva.
Girl Stephanie C. Dixon, the Inspirational Diva, host of the Inspirational Diva Show, brought to you by Home Care Network, bringing health care home. Now look, it's Father's Day weekend, and we are here to celebrate Father's Day. We already know that Mother's Day always gets the biggest applause and everything, but we want to celebrate fathers on today because we have some dads out there that are doing it and doing it big, okay? So we have 3 guests that are going to come and talk to us about their journey into fatherhood and everything that goes along with that, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And we already know that it's some good, some bad, and some ugly. All right. Don't forget that you can tune into the Inspirational Diva Show every Saturday at 10 a.m. here on Facebook, as well as on my YouTube channel, the Inspirational Diva Show. So if you don't follow me on those 2 platforms, then you need to start doing it, especially on my YouTube channel. You know, we be trying to grow our channels and stuff. You know, I just keep it real. So, hey, follow me on YouTube at the Inspirational Diva Show. Well, you're not supposed to follow me. You're supposed to subscribe to my channel, okay? So I would appreciate it if you would subscribe to my channel, the Inspirational Diva Show on YouTube. All right? Stay right there because after this break, we'll be right back for our Father's Day weekend. All right, everybody, we are back. Your girl, Stephanie C. Dixon, the Inspirational Diva. And as I stated earlier, it is Father's Day weekend, and we are here to celebrate fathers. Woo! And so you see my 3 dads that I have here because y'all know mothers always get just everything. Mother's Day is just like always like celebrated. I tell you, I go to the cemetery to visit my mom's grave, and I tell you, when I go out there, barbecue pits are set up. There's like family reunions in there. They have the t-shirts on, balloon releases, and everything. Well, we want to show dads that same kind of love on today because we have some dads that are doing it and doing it big. And so I have my 3 guests. I have Cliff Armstead, who you all know he's been on the show before. We have Armando Bunks. He's been on the show before as well. And Adrian Stinson, he's been on the show. So guys, thank you all so much for being on the Inspirational Diva Show as we celebrate dads for this Father's Day weekend. So real briefly, I'm going to hand it off to you guys, and I just want you to just tell us just a little bit about yourself so that the listeners can know who we're talking to. So Cliff, tell us a little bit about you.
Well, I'm a native Texan here. I've been in Dallas all my life pretty much. Tried to get away at one time, but wouldn't allow me. My name is Cliff Armstead. A lot of people, when you speak of me, say, oh, Cliff. I said, well, I took that as a nickname, Cliff. But I'm so proud to be a dad. I'm glad my wife allowed me to be the best dad I possibly be. I think the ladies play a big role in that. I'm always thanking Miss Dixon whenever, because they always give us a platform. And I always like to walk through the door whenever invited to do something. I understand when my son was born that I was going to be a role model. My wife told me when he was about 2 or 3 weeks old that he's watching every move you make. That made me think about, you know what, I can't do anything later on down the line to change anything if I'm giving him bad examples. So I always from that point made sure I gave a positive example for him.
Awesome.
So yeah, that's pretty much in a nutshell.
Cool, cool. All right, Armando, tell us a little bit about you.
So Cliff, I love that your nickname was Oak Cliff because I taught in Oak Cliff for 11 years.
Awesome.
So I was a middle school and fifth grade teacher for 16 years. Moved to Texas again because I was born here. So my dad was in the military, so I'm a military brat. So I saw a lot of good and bad examples of parenting, right? And I was lucky because I know we'll get to that in a minute, but I was lucky to have my father as my father. So I have 3 older brothers that also were fathers before I was. So I had lots of examples to think of what is this answer of who am I and what is a father. I have 3 beautiful children. The youngest is 14 and the oldest is 24. Woo! And I work at Big Thought now, and I work with mentoring programs and college career readiness so that those that don't have parents or fathers or mothers or somebody pushing them like we're supposed to and help them, like Cliff was saying, we can provide something, or those that are doing the hard work trying to, some supports and resources.
Awesome. All right, Adrian Stinson.
Well, hello, I'm Adrian Stinson, as you said. Dallas, Texas, born and raised, never got away, been here. Father of 3 loving children. My oldest one, I don't have you beat him, my oldest one is 21. She'll be graduating in December from University of North Texas. So that's something we're excited about. Then we have 13 and 15. Basically, my children actually taught me to be a better person, to be a better father. I actually learned love from my kids, and that was so that's a big thing there. Basically, support is a big thing. My youngest daughter has a foundation, Let's Start Giving Foundation. We help feed and clothe the homeless and provide everyday essentials. My oldest daughter, she has a fashion and accessory line called Dree's World. And my son is with me. We just back him up. He's an entrepreneur. He jumps in and out of things. And we all just come together. It was just a family unit and support. I'm just a regular guy with some great kids.
I love that. I heard that, a regular guy with some great kids. So y'all have any big Father's Day plans, or are you going to let the kids and the family surprise you guys? What about you, Armando?
So I'm getting married Thursday.
Oh, congrats.
Oh, man, congratulations.
So I'll be on my honeymoon.
Yeah.
Hey, that's a Father's Day gift.
Awesome.
Right.
Okay, well, good. That's a good Father's Day.
But
Well,
I'm the quiet
congratulations
dad.
to you.
Thank you. I'm the quiet dad. I like for Father's Day, it's just go give me some food. Y'all go play and I'll just chill because,
All right. Just grateful that you're alive. What about you, Cliff?
Well, you know what? I always look forward anytime there's a teachable moment. Right now, my son is 10 and he'll be 11 in a few months. And he's looking forward to learning how to drive. Of course, he can't drive none of our cars. So what I went and did was went out and purchased a golf cart for him to learn how to drive. My wife told me that would be, I love golfing. So she told me that would be my Father's Day gift. And I'm going to share with my son to teach him how to drive. He can bang that thing in all the walls he wants to. So that'll be my Father's Day gift. And I'll probably put a couple of steaks on the grill and just hang around.
Gotcha. I love that. All right, Adrian, what you got planned with the crew?
They never tell me they're gonna do something. I never ask for anything. I never want anything, but I'm pretty sure they're gonna give me something that I like, but I'd probably be mad telling them they shouldn't have got it. Just family time, nothing major. Probably be some good cooking going on and sit around and eat a bunch of stuff don't have no business eating and pass out, hopefully. That's no better than that.
So I want to ask a question, and Cliff, I'm going to ask you first, and you can briefly give me your answer. What are some of, and you all have told, basically we know that being a dad is a fun thing. You look forward to it. You're excited about it. What are some of the challenges being a father? Talk to me, Cliff.
You know what? Actually, Stephanie, it's an honor being a father. It's a badge of honor, and I just love that honor, and I'm excited every day. I take every day as a teachable moment for my son to have a one-on-one conversation with him to help mold him to be a wonderful citizen, a good role model. One of the hardest things I find and challenging is I always tell my son to be a leader and not a follower. Don't follow behind, dare to be different. As you know, Stephanie, I'm always challenging the boundaries of just being different.
Amen.
Yeah, being different. I mean, I don't roll with crowds. I don't try to fit in with crowds. I always try to stand out in the crowd, make my presence known, and to always leave someone better than the way I found them. And that's one of the challenging things, because a lot of kids these days, I guess because they don't have positive male role models, or they do have awesome moms though, but we need more male role models. You know, every time I'm out in public, I try to dress the part, look the part, and always, because I know other kids are looking at me, other sons. And I'm always prideful when I'm at the church house to show a young man how to tie, straightening his tie up. It's always in the detail. And as Adrian know, it's all in the details, you know, and it's something as simple to us older guys knowing how to tie. Young guys, sometimes they miss that, you know, and you can't fault them for that because someone just didn't take the time out to show them, or it just may not been a male there to show them that. I try to let them know to talk up clearly, look a person in the eyes. And Adrian, he's already shaking his head. You know, when you go to shake somebody's head, look him in the eye, and what you say, mean what you say, you know, and feel confident in what you say. But the only challenges, like I say, is, you know, sometimes in social media, I have to be there to educate my son on what, a lot of things are just entertainment. You be the role model. You set the standards. You know, a lot of time the kids say, oh, I want Jordans and this and that there. And Stephanie, as you know, when we grew up, K-Swiss or Stan Smith, you know what I'm saying? Be different. You know what I'm saying? And when my son, yes, sir. Armando Fila. You know, and when you watch stuff like that, you stand out. And when my son actually takes me up on that and go to school, the teachers, okay, you know what I'm saying? Now he feel, oh yeah, dad knew what he was talking about, you know? You don't have to follow behind anyone. So the challenge, I would say, is just being a role, letting them know to be different.
And that's really good, because like you said, social media is out there and it is influence. So Armando, what about you? I mean, what do you consider to be a challenge, if any, being a father?
So Cliff hit a huge one, right? So it's being the positive role model, but also letting them know that you're not perfect. This came out of, you know, Stephanie, that we work with TFI, work with 40 young men, sophomore, junior, senior year, young men of color, all the way through. We bridge them to college, and we're on our second cohort. And this came out of one of our trips with them. And I have to do it with my children too, which is, just because I make it look easy doesn't mean it's easy for me. It's a mindset, right? It's something I learned from my family, my grandfather, my father. So part of the challenge is not letting everything hit you too hard, so they know that we can persevere, but also being real with my children. Like, listen, this was difficult, this was hard, but this is how we move through. This is how we move forward. Right. You know, we're all men of God. So, you know, it's also like, listen, it doesn't just come from me. There's a higher power I believe in, that I call to, and that gives me strength. And I need you to have a relationship with God as well. You determine that relationship, but understand that relationship with God doesn't make me perfect either. There's a struggle, but I need to show you how to be your best. And I'm going to try to be my best. It doesn't mean I don't make mistakes. And that's hard. The second thing that's the hardest and challenge is apologizing. Like but I show my children, look, I can make a mistake. And this is how you apologize and you own. Because again, if we're trying to show respect and show accountability to our children, we have it as well. But it's also, like Cliff was saying, it's also being confident. This is how you look at the world, because the world looks at you a different way. So it's also giving them all those tools necessary to face the world, and also find the joy and love within themselves, because it's not always given, right? This is also how you will challenge the world. To Cliff's point, you are amazing. You are an individual. Don't always, you know, sit there and look. I told my boys before, And boys have this bad habit more than girls. They like to be the clown because people laugh, right, and entertain. I'm like, listen, son, I don't need you to be a clown. I don't need you to be a clown. I don't need you to be CEO, but I need you to be CEO of your own life, right? You need to make the decisions. You make the choices. Don't let somebody else determine your actions because you get the laughs and you think that's funny. Somebody else can do that job, son or daughter. Be your best.
I love that.
All right now, like that, brother.
All right, Adrian, how about you? Challenges?
Getting them to understand that no matter how hard they try, they're not gonna get my good looks. They'll look like their mom. That's probably
You're gonna be on the couch tonight.
yeah, I know.
You're
I could pass the opportunity.
Wait, this doesn't air till Saturday, so he's safe for a few minutes.
I got time. So the hardest part to me is I think because of social media now and everything being at their fingertips, I don't think, and our generation, as far as raising that generation, we don't have the luxury of sugarcoating or running from the hard talks. Like, we actually have to have those conversations. And a lot of part of those conversations is actually opening up and being honest about who I really am. And that is hard because, that's something difficult, but in a lot of situations I saw that I have to be uncomfortable in order to help my children, get ahead, and especially, raising two daughters in this generation, it's like, all day, you biting. But, one thing that especially I tell my oldest, I tell my two youngest, I think they may be listening to me or not. It's still going one there. But I always tell them, I tell her, look in the mirror. The person in front of you, one day, the 30-year-old you is going to either love that person or hate that person. So the person in the mirror right now has the opportunity to make the 30-year-old person proud. Right. And I tell them that 30-year-old life is in your hands. So you can't really hear them right now, but they're begging you, please make the right decision. Please go the right path, because that 30-year-old person's complete life hangs in your 21-year-old decision right now. I drill that and I say that all the time. And that's how I approach it. But yeah, so that having to deal with hard topics and hard conversation, that's very difficult.
Wow, that is a good analogy. I like what you told her. That sounds really good. Now let me ask this, since you all said that. Now, Armando, do you have a daughter?
My oldest is 24, my daughter, and then two boys.
Okay, so this is what I know. What is the difference in fathering a daughter versus fathering a son? Armando, can you tell me that?
So it falls under two categories, right? Because she's also the oldest. Okay. So she was easy. Sarah was easy. It was, but she was also me. She was my shadow, right? And I did it with all three of my children. I held them as much as possible. So it wasn't even that difference, right? And I'm Puerto Rican, so we kiss you, we love it, we tell you love you, it's gonna happen. So that's not even different. But it's a mindset too, right? So she don't have time to waste on silly things where my boys all ran to silly things, right?
Right.
So that's a kind of difference between the two. Like both of y'all said, it's also about what the crowd thinks is more important for my daughter, right? She was able to be her own self, but it also bothered her when people thought something, versus my boys are like, they're stupid, Dad. I don't understand why they're doing that. That's just silly. Isn't that what you told us? And my daughter would do a little bit of that until she turned 10, 11. Then everything kind of shifted for her, right? It became more about, Dad, it's a little embarrassing, or this looks, now she still would love me and hug me in public. That wasn't a problem, but she worried more what other people said. And so when you guys are talking about the social media and those things, it's so important, right? How we prepare our babies, because they're always our babies. I mean, she's 24, she's still my baby.
Yes.
And I'm 49, I'm the youngest. My mama still calls me, she's 75, so I'm still the baby. How we prepare our babies for the world to be ready for all of the negativity that's going to come their way, and remind them and shore them up, right? I know your question, difference between girls and boys, raising a daughter and raising a son, but when it came down to it, it was harder to get her prepped for that right? Because there was so much more expectation of what she was supposed to be as a girl versus what my boys were allowed to be, right? And how the world was a little more open for them and accepting of their silliness and all these things. And for her, life was a different challenge, right? She's still amazing. She still got A's, she got her B's, she was great and did things, but the world hit her a little harder, right? Because it expected things from her, even though she'd know. So, no, my dad said that I can do this. Yes, baby, you can. But the world hits you a little harder with a girl than it does a boy, the expectations.
What about you, Cliff? What differences did you see, if any, with raising a daughter versus raising a son?
Well, Armando, I'm kind of like in the same boat you are. I have a 25-year-old and a 10-year-old. And I always say God had a sense of humor because my son was going into preschool and my daughter was going to college at the same time. My daughter was kind of like your daughter, Armando. My daughter was awesome. Boys are just different. Boys you have to stay on. And I'm not sure. I'm thinking my daughter is like me right now, but my son, he's the younger Cliff. He's more rambunctious. He want to run to the hot water. When you tell him the water's hot, he want to stick his foot off in it. He want to check it first, even though you told him not to. But he's a challenge, but I'm up for the challenge. I wish he would have came 20 years earlier. Sometimes I'm not up for the fight, but I'm thankful right now I'm in the age where I have a lot more patience, and because I think it would have been a lot more tussling going on if I was younger with him. But right now I'm able to find the right words to talk to him, and I believe he's going to be able to take away some real good things. One thing I'm always on my son about, because as you guys know, we could all be going to the same place, right? But there's many directions we can take to get there. Sometimes he gets flustered because he can only see straight. You know, you need to see more than just a straight line, see different ways of getting there. So yeah, that's the challenge I've had. But my daughter, I'm like Armando. She was easy peasy. She was all about her books, handwriting and everything. But this guy here, he's a wizard. He's so smart that he you know, yeah, it's a challenge.
Hey, so all right, Adrian, what you got?
The difference between, so like Cliff said, God does have a sense of humor. My oldest is 21, daughter, and let me hold on, knock on wood.
Right.
We've never had a problem out of my oldest. So she's 6 years older than my youngest daughter, and then my son came after that. So at first I didn't know, because it was just like everything was on autopilot. She was just such, like how you guys saying, the grades, the morals. I used to try to run the room. What you doing? And she'd be laying on the floor, having her talk. She has talks with God. And I'm like, wow. Like, God, you set me up for something. But then the younger two came along, and it's like, oh, this is what parenting is, right? So difference between the boy and the girl, I think with the girls, I spend a lot of time, I guess the word would be apologizing. I don't know if I'm using the right word, but having to tell them this is how the world is. Like, it's unfortunate, but there are double standards. Letting them know, be yourself, be true to yourself, but at the same time, you are a lady, you are a woman. Unfortunately, this is how it is. Right. Letting them know that, you can do whatever, like I said, you can do whatever you want to do, be whatever you want to be. But I need you to always keep conscious. This is how the world sees it. This is what the world says, So, keep that in your mind while you're trying to break those barriers and do those things. With the son, it's kind of autopilot. Hey, boy, look her up. Man, do this. Hey, boy, a man don't do that. Boy, don't do that. Do this, do that. And so with the son, just kind of pointing direct. Hey, do this, do that. The daughter's kind of nurturing her and trying to shield her off from the guys that was like us when we were their age. Trying to making sure we protect her for that. So that's the difference. It's a little easier with the boy in certain areas.
She's trying to protect your daughter from the younger youths, huh?
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely.
Stephanie, if you would, let me bounce quick, because both of these guys are hitting on all 8 cylinders like me. And I heard both of them say the same thing. Us as fathers to the young ladies, you guys all said the same thing. We're building confidence up. One thing I used to always tell my daughter, you are beautiful, you are a princess, you are a queen. She's always say, Dad, I tell her, you're royalty. She like, Dad, we're royalty. Yeah, you are royalty. Because like you say, they're more self-conscious at an early age of their appearance and stuff like that. And as fathers, I think we're always want to be their superheroes.
Right.
We want to help be there for them because as you guys know, we found out women just a little bit more emotional than the guys, because I heard you guys saying the same thing. The boys be like, oh, Dad, whatever, they can care less what somebody thinks about it. But women, young ladies are different.
Yeah. So before we go on to break, I want to ask this question of all three of you. So for years, we've always heard boys don't cry. You don't show your emotions. You don't, you just have to be strong and hold it all in. How important is it, do you think, to tell your sons it's okay to cry? It's okay to have the emotion. You're human. I mean, what do you think about that? Or are you the ones that say, no, you don't do that. You hold it all in. You're a man. You
take that one. I'll take that one.
Okay.
So, well, like I said, I'm Puerto Rican, so we laugh, we cry, we work as hard as we party. But my boys were just 2 when my grandfather passed, and they 2 or 3, they saw me break down, right? And it's not just for war movies and funerals. They're allowed to feel. I encourage them to feel and be themselves. What I encourage them to be is realistic and thoughtful. But like my youngest is a mountain. He's huge. So I also had to prep him for, you're going to be tested by all of the guys that you are the same height or that you're a little shorter than you, because they're going to test you. They're going to bully you because you're a challenge now. So there's a double standard in a sense for guys, because we can be and need to be approachable and vulnerable, so we create real relationships, right? If we want to create a relationship with God, we want to create a relationship with us, with whoever they have their long-term relationship with, we have to show them how to be vulnerable. But we also have to teach them how to be mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually strong. And so that's the duality that becomes difficult around 12, 13 for boys, because we get a double standard. Because remember, we get called soft, and that's a call out. Right? When we're called soft, we have to then be a man, right? So it's hard, because we're trying to tell them, listen, come give me a hug. Give me, my 6-foot son still comes and hugs me, puts his head on me, dead or wrong. Yeah. And that we have to create that, but we also have to create the other toughnesses for them so they can be strong, but not toxic, right? But be strong, right? And be loving to their mothers and the other ones, right? Right. Sorry, gentlemen, go for it.
No, that's a good word.
Adrian.
That's actually a lesson that I've just recently learned, not too long ago. Same way, I was raised, you don't let them fall from your eye. Yeah. Period. I've never saw my father cry. I mean, I've been to my grandmother's funeral, grandfather's funeral. I can even remember my brother was murdered, unfortunately, in 2007. And we were on the front row, and I kind of had a moment. And I remember my father kind of looked down at me. He kind of did like that, like this as a grown man, And when my mom passed in 2017, I didn't shed one tear, not at all. I was, soldiering stuff, and my kids were inquiring about it, But the way it ate me up on the inside. Now I tell my son to be who you are. Your emotion, that's your true self. So if you feel like crying, son, you cry. A man can cry, I let him know it. So I'll never tell him not to cry and things like that. And like you said, Armando, we have to toughen them up in other ways, different things, but we still have to let them be true to your emotions. And I think it's 150% important for mental, that emotion release is important for their mental well-being. So we have in this day and age, and it's crazy because, like you said, it's a balance. Like, you need to be tough, like here or there, but cry if you need to cry. You can cry, let them flow. It's okay. Wipe your tears, and hey, if somebody laughs at you, then you go fight them. You be tough and go fight them. But
just because they cry doesn't mean they're not tough. It doesn't mean they're not strong. It just means they're human.
That's very human.
Yeah,
very human, and that's what we push.
Yeah. So Cliff, how do you feel about that?
I think I grew up in the same genre as Adrian. When we grew up as kids, the older guys used to always say, "Don't cry." They would hit you in the chest or thump you on the head, thumping up and this and that there. We're in a different time now. And the kids have to be, like you said, they have to be well balanced. They have to be vulnerable, but at the same time, they can be stern. I've actually been working on that myself for about 20 years to try to balance things because in my work environment, first and foremost, Adrian almost look like me. You're probably 6 foot, and a lot of times people are intimidated by the way you look. So you need to be approachable. Just like Armando said, when you have to be approachable, you have to interact with different people. And as you know, I don't have a problem dealing with and talking to a lot of people. So that's what I'm trying to express to my son, because he's probably going to be taller than me, but he needs to be approachable. Also, he plays a lot of sports and he needs to be marketable as well. So I teach him how to carry himself, how to talk, how to be well spoken, for his words to be received, and how he conducts and carries himself as well. So yeah, it's been a challenge working on that. It is like Adrian said, it's a balance that we have to achieve.
Right. Awesome. I love your answers. All right. So we're about to go to break, everybody, right quick. But when we come back, I want to talk to these fathers about their relationship with their own fathers. So we're going to talk about that a little bit more as soon as we come back from this break. You're tuned into the Inspirational Diva Show.
Home Care Network brings healthcare in the comfort of your home. Our skilled nurses can cover everything that you would get in a hospital, from wound care management, pulmonary and cardiac care, medication management, and physical, occupational, speech therapy, x-rays, and more. Home Care Network has 3 locations in DeSoto, Rockwall, and Palestine. Visit homecarenetwork.com or on Facebook at Home Care Network TX. Home Care Network, the care you need in the comfort of your home.
All right, everybody, we are back. Your girl, Stephanie C. Dixon, the Inspirational Diva, and we are celebrating fathers here on the Inspirational Diva Show, which is brought to you by Home Care Network. So before the break, I told the fathers that I wanted to talk to them about the relationship that they have with their own fathers, and if that relationship kind of poured into them to make them the fathers that they are today. So Adrian, we heard you earlier say that your dad looked at you and said, "Stop that crying down there." So what was your relationship like with your father?
Oh man, strange relationship. Not really. My father is like he's the stern father, but at the same time, best friend. Like that's my buddy. I mean, to this day, me and my father, we just sit on the porch and eat watermelon and spit seed in the yard, watch the cars, and just and we talk about everything. One of the things I respect about my father is, not nothing I'm pretty sure he might not be proud, but he stood up for it. I'm like I said, I'm an outside of union child for my father, and then a year later he had another outside union child, which was with my brother, right? So, but one thing I can say, my father stood up for his. Now, he may not get a A+ in marriage, things like that, but in fatherhood, he stood up, and he has never not been in our lives at one point. Growing up, I saw my father 7 days a week. I saw my father at least 5. He never missed a sporting event. He never missed anything that I had. He never missed anything that I had going on in my life. At any point, and he's always been a man's man, and at all times he's been 100% father. And as I got older, I thought about what he stood to lose by stepping up being a father like that, but he put it all on the line to be a father, and he said that first and foremost, that was important to him. So a lot of love, a lot of respect, and just side note, like I was saying, as far as the sternness and everything, we were laughing not too long ago because we grew up, we never said I love you, anything like that. And my kids said so much. It was like one day last year, and he said, "I love you, boy." And we looked at each other like, we did each other like that. He said, "I know it's awkward, but we got to work on that." So that was a fun moment for me there.
When he said that, ask him, did he watch the last episode of Blackish? Maybe if you watched that, did you watch it? If not,
Yeah,
watch the last episode of Blackish. And you know,
it was
that,
kind of like that. It was kind of
Yeah,
like that.
yeah. So
We
if
both
y'all
like it.
want to go find it on demand or something, but it's kind of talking about this same thing here. So Cliff, what about your relationship with your father?
My dad was a businessman, and it was a weird relationship. I couldn't have regular conversations with him. The conversation I would have to have with my dad would have to be something making sense. Nothing from a personal level or anything like that. It would always, if you come to me with an idea, I mean, let's buy a house. It's always about investments and doing things. It was a relationship I had with my dad. My mother was, and I guess that's the reason why I have so much respect for women, because my mother was totally opposite. She was kind of like me. She was just very warm and welcoming. But my dad was the man of the house. He took care of all the responsibilities of the house. He worked hard all the time. I respect him for that. And he was just always there. That meant the world to me. I respected that later on. As you can see the flag back there, he was a veteran as well. So I think a lot of that he took from the armed services, structure in his life. It was always about structure. The way something looked, it always had to be on point. When you go get a set of tire, if you need a tire, you need to get all tires. If you need brakes, you need to get all your brakes. It was, and I always looked ahead. And I think that's kind of the way I do with both of my kids. I tell them, don't think about right now, about the future. Just like Adrian said, don't think, you're 30 years old, but think about that 50-year-old person. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to embarrass that 50-year-old person. It was always looking forward. And that's kind of the way me and my wife operate. We always set goals for ourselves. And we're setting goals for my son. My son is 10, but we're already prepping him for college, his exit out of the house. Because when he's out of the house, we out of the house too. We're downsizing, we're traveling. Yeah, no coming back. We gone, So yeah, it was always a structured conversation, and I greatly appreciate that because people, in a lot of time, we think, like it's just you and your wife, but I've come to find out our circle is much bigger than just us, and we're always conscious of that. Just like me and your relationship, Stephanie. It's like clockwork. You like, you know what? Yeah, Mr. Cliff is this and that. There. You can always count it. I never want to embarrass anybody. I always want you to be confident in saying, Mr. Armstead is X, Y, Z. Just what I can always say about Steph. You're always there for me. And so he instilled that off into me. Stay constant with things, and because it's so many people depending on you. And I love being a role model for others. And I want my son to be a good steward in life.
That's good. I like that answer. What about you, Armando? How was your relationship with your dad, and how has it contributed to you being the father that you are today?
Yeah. So I was born in 73, and we lived in Europe for the first 12 years of my life, most of the time. And so we were always in hotbeds of danger. So I didn't see my dad a lot during the week, or sometimes a week at a time, because he would be what's called in the field, which means he was on alert and ready to go respond. So my favorite color is OD green, because when my dad would walk through that door, my daddy was home. So my dad was a presence, right? And he was a comforting presence. But, like Clifford said, like my mom was very brave. She moved countries with just the four of us. My dad would have to be son of Ed. So my dad was always present. I knew I could always count on him, but my dad also was protecting other people. So I was proud, and my dad was a real life hero for me, right? As all men and women in the service, right? It wasn't until now I still would walk down the street holding my daddy's hand, proud and everything. My dad's 6'2", so my little small self, I was always the smallest, holding my daddy's hand, and I'd pretend to fall asleep so he'd pick me up and put me in bed, whenever we go on long trips. So my father was always a secure and strong presence, but he wasn't a scary, strong, dangerous presence. He was always a comfort. He always respected my mother. He'd always send me in to be with my mom, to do whatever she needed, right? So, and my mom was very strong. She's 5'0" and ran the house of, 5 boys. So those ideas, right? Your word is your bond. If you say you're going to do it, do it. You get up early, you take care of things before 9 o'clock so that way you can enjoy the rest of the day. Like I said, we work hard so we can enjoy our life. And same thing, Cliff, he taught me about investment and thinking ahead. It was also how you appear, right? We didn't have a lot of money, but we always looked our best. You always presented your best. You always volunteered. You always put yourself forward. And my father was also, it wasn't till later in life that he came to God through my mom, but then became a very serious man about his family and religion. But it wasn't overbearing. Again, it was a very quiet. Now it's hilarious because people now meet my father and think he's quiet, but my dad would have this look, and my dad would just look at you 3 different ways, and you knew, depending on the 3 different ways he looked at you, if you needed to run, if you needed to apologize quickly, or if you needed to move out, right? But he was a man of few words. When he said things, they meant a lot. And I was lucky because my father did, we're Puerto Rican, so we're hard. Like we go hard with love, we go hard with work. And so I was lucky that he told me he loved me because his father didn't, right? To y'all's point, we had the moment when my grandpa, my abuelo, would say, "I love you," right? That was like, he would say it to the grandchildren, but it was hard, that gruff exterior, right? He was from that kind, but my father was one of 13, and he had lost, he'd gone to Korea during Vietnam and lost one of his best friends, who I'm named after. So he had lost, right? And had friends that were lost during the war. So he capitalized on the, I need to tell you now, because I may not be, like my dad may not be here. One story to tell you completely about my father. We were living in Germany, and they were putting pipe bombs on the military bases in the cars. And I believed so much in my father that he walked me through what I would have to do every night for the month we were on alert to check our car for a car bomb. I trusted completely my father. He said, "Son, this is what you look for." I didn't even question it. I mean, it was scary, but at the same time, I had complete belief in understanding my pops. And that's what I do with my children. I don't ever lie to them. I tell them the truth, even when it's hard, so they can count on me and trust on me. So when things are hard, I'm going to be real. My dad's my ride or die for sure. So is my mama. She'll kill somebody for me, but and she'll talk to God afterwards. But I know my dad's got my back, always has, even if he's upset. But the worst words my father could ever say is, "I'm disappointed in you." It's worse than any hit, right? That's my dad. And I try to do that with my children.
Awesome. And I want to say this about all 3 of y'all, because I know your families, and I love the fact that you all instill a relationship with God in your children, because it is so important. And with that being said, and going back to what Armando just said, I want to ask you this question as we're getting ready to wrap up. With the recent shootings in school and things going on in this world, and we know about what happened a few weeks ago with the children that were killed at the school and the 2 teachers. How do you talk to your children about situations like this to keep them from not being fearful, or to try to put them at ease, or to give them some type of comfort? How do you talk to your child, Armando, your children, about situations like that?
You're going for the gut. You're going for the Oprah question today for me. Remember, I was a teacher, and my fiance is going to be my wife's a teacher. And I've been in lockdowns in Dallas when I taught in Dallas, right? And we've had real lockdowns for real reasons. I tell my sons and my daughter a few things, right? One, which is, if you're right with God, you're always okay, no matter what happens. Don't be looking for the day that it's going to happen. You'll neither know the minute nor the hour, right? Do your best to always be right. Don't go looking for trouble. My daughter even knows my rule is you don't need to be out after 10:30. Ain't nothing good happen after 10:30. But there's just bad. There's just evil in the world, and you got to make sure that you're not with it, that you're not hanging with it, that you're not consorting with it, and you're not creating it. And I tell my children, I tell anybody that the students I work with is, and I've told my students for years, you've got to be the change and the good you want to be in the world. All you can control is you. And you've got to try to be what you can. And that act of being good, of being graceful, of being the face of God, of being your neighbor's brother and sister. That act helps change these horrible acts. It doesn't change the gun, it doesn't change the whatever, right? But it does help change the world in small ways. A smile, talking to somebody. My youngest was little. We were eating somewhere, and there was a lady that was sitting next to us. She wasn't smiling. I just looked at her, and I said, "How are you doing this evening? You know, are you here to get the food?" And she started smiling immediately. We had the greatest conversation for 20 minutes. And after she left, my son said, "Daddy, did you know her?" I said, "Not at first." I said, "But she needed somebody." And so it was I needed to be somebody for her. He's like, "Now you have a friend." I said, "I sure do." That's what we have to do. So
It's good
all we
stuff.
can do is the best. Yeah. And then you just, pray and hope for the best and pay attention and help those you can help out.
Adrian, how about you? How do you talk to your child?
Whew. Unfortunately, you have to talk reality.
Yeah.
First, and like Armando said, we definitely have to understand our relationship and our walk with God and be confident in that, first of all. But after that, it's reality, and then, talking about, hey, look, this is what you look out for. This is what you, keep your ears open, keep your eyes open. Make sure, like you said, I always say, make sure you're making the right decisions. You're in the right place. Don't ever get caught in the wrong place at the right time. Make sure you're doing what you're supposed to do. And like you said, just stay on that path. It's unfortunate we can't talk about, rainbows and unicorns and things like that. We have to talk, reality. This is what's going on. Hey, you heard an incident happen 2 days ago and such said this, don't take that lightly. You take that serious, and you govern yourself accordingly to what's going on.
Yeah. Now, Cliff, I know that you recently had to deal with something with your son this week. So just kind of tell us a little bit about that, what happened today, and how you talk to your son. How do you encourage him to be calm?
Well, I'm glad you went in that order, Stephanie. Thank you, Armando, and thank you, Adrian. Like Stephanie said, I'm actually having to deal with that today. My son got caught in that incident today. He was at that camp today and actually seen the dead body. He had to walk past it. They heard the shots and all that. And it was very emotional for me when I had to run up to there to pray to God that my son was okay. My wife was there. She called me, and I've never heard my wife as panicky as she was today. And when you say, I cried like a baby in front of the police officer. Adrian, you're right. You have to be realistic with these kids. I've always been very transparent with my son. And just yesterday, my son for some odd reason, came to me and was asking me about CPR training. I showed him a few things about CPR. Actually, my son asked me about a month or two ago, have I ever been in a life-threatening situation? Like you said, we have to be transparent in our life, and I know in all you guys' life, that somewhere down the line, because it's hard to grow up as men, somewhere down the line, we've been in front of the gun. We've been in front of bad situations. I share with him. I give him the best thing that I can possibly tell him on how to walk away from the situation. My dad used to tell me all the time, because he's an Army guy too, he said, to win something, you need to be able to walk away from it. All fights are not fought, and like Adrian said, you need to be observant of what's around you. If you need to run, hide, just like that young lady did down in Uvalde. Her friend had died. She covered herself with blood. You have to be smart. The thing of it is, you need to be able to walk away. You need to survive. So at this point right now, Stephanie, I'm open to anything. I'm listening to everything. But God is first. And just like I told my son today, when he got in the truck, I told him, God had you, son. That's the reason why you're here. It just wasn't your time. When a child is born, even you know this, Stephanie, when the child is born and when they send your child home from the hospital, they send the child. They don't send a guidebook. They don't send a handbook or anything. Only handbook we have is the Bible. And that's everything we need. So you have to keep abreast and revisit the Bible and just read scripture and share some things that touch you with your children and pray over them. Because one day we do have to let them go.
Mondo, I really like what you said, and I know to say it, we as Christians, we say it, but it's still, when you say it, I feel like when you say it, it's like, I'm saying this, but when you tell your children, as long as you're right with God, whatever happens, you know where you will spend eternal life. Right. And you don't want to have that type of conversation with your child, but it's true, because you have to prepare them, and we have to let them know you got to live a right life. So if something happens and you get caught up in it, at least you know where your eternal life will be. So that relationship with God is so important to tell our children about. I wrote a stage play some years ago called Not Too Young to Serve God. Right. Let our children know that you're not too young to have a relationship with God. And as fathers, I'm so glad that you're all instilling that in your children. All right. So dads, I want to say thank you all so much for being here on the Inspirational Diva Show on today. But really quick, you all have like 30 seconds each. Cliff, tell everyone what you do in the city of Lancaster.
It's probably easier saying what I don't do for the city of Lancaster.
He's so busy there.
We got a big one. I'm always the speaker out there whenever they have a different events. I'm the one that finds sponsors. I'm the one who help orchestrate things. And I always tell people I was hired for one job, but then I got several other different hats. My initial job is at the Senior Life Center and to give back to the seniors. And I just really enjoy that. And I appreciate Miss Stephanie. Whenever I call her, she is just always there. It comes a point in your life when it's time to give back, like Armando. You know what I'm saying? It's not about the monetary from it. It's about leaving people better. Just like you said, when you start talking to that young lady, you probably saved her life, Armando, just acknowledging her. And that's what I try to do. I try to bring light to people that are in dark. So I'm just so blessed and honored to be in that position. I love to serve.
All right, Armando, tell us about Big Thought.
Yeah, so I work at Big Thought. We're a 30-year arts and education nonprofit, but in the last 5 years, we've been intentional about dismantling racist systems, right? And trying to see how best we can work with our communities and hear from our youth and communities to elevate them, push them forward as the leaders they are presently in the future, but also create positive systemic pieces and bridges so that we can move forward and elevate our communities that have been minoritized for 496 years, I think is what we're counting. So presently, my job is to create bridges for our education, for our college career, and moving our communities forward so we can get all those things that we know we deserve. And people have been doing the long-term hustle and making it, but try to get it across the country, right? So everybody can look down at our area of Dallas and go, dang, they're doing it. I said, dang, people, D-A-N-G.
Hey, spice it up. We need some action. Spice it up.
Armando, do you have a website for that? Because I know y'all do some great things with Big Thought. What is the website?
It's BIG, big, T-H-O-U-G-T, bigthought.org. I am dyslexic. I think I did spell that right. BIG, T-H-O-U-G-H-T, sorry, .org. We got all sorts of stuff. We got OST things going on. We got City of Learning. First and foremost, though, Cliff, from the bottom of my heart, yes, please, I'm sending all my love, my energy, and my prayers for your son. Yes. One of my best friends that's flying in, his son and daughter dealt with that where they lived in Denver. It's taken 2 years for his daughter to not wake up. And she was in the room across and hearing that, right? So it's going to be a minute, right? So definitely the talk and dismantling. Currently in my course I'm taking right now for counseling, you got to talk about it as soon as possible, dismantle it and just be ready, right? I'm definitely not certified, but just that's what they're telling us, emotional first aid and best thoughts. And we have people, listen, if it gets hard, hit me up. I'm just armando.bonch@bigthought.org. And I'll find any resources to help your son, because that's also what we do. We try to help resources for our community.
Thank you very much.
Hey,
yeah,
please.
That's big. That's big.
All right. So Adrian, you already told us about Let's Start Giving Foundation. You already told us about Dre's World. Tell us about Rebrand Us. We see it on your shirt.
Where did you get that? Oh, did you get that?
Yeah.
Well, Rebrand Us actually was started by two of my good friends, Anthony Goodson and Eric Russell. They invited me in. So basically, we are a group. We have a podcast. We're Wednesday nights at 7:30 on Facebook. And Rebrand Us, if you notice how it's spelled, the US is capitalized because it stands for us as a people, but then it stands for us as the US. And we need to rebrand the way that we're seen, and we need to rebrand the way that we see each other. So what we do is we speak on social topics, but we only come from a point of solutions. We don't come from a point of, pointing fingers and things like that. We deal with the hard topics. We hit racism right in the face. We hit gun control. We hit, mental stability and things like that. All the hot topics. And we hit it. But we only come from a solution base. So we all know the source and what's going on. Okay, now how do we move forward? How do we make each other better? How are we going to get better? And that's us every day, every Wednesday at 7:30.
I like that. I always try to say, we've talked about the problem enough. Let's talk about the resolve for the problem.
Yes.
So yeah, let's get that done. All right, everybody. Well, guys, thank you all so much. Cliff Armstead, Armando Bonds, and Adrian Stinson. Thank you so much for being on the Inspirational Diva Show as we celebrate fathers on this weekend. And I want to say happy Father's Day to all of the dads out there, those that's acting as a dad, taking the place of a dad. Happy Father's Day to all of you out there. But right now, it is time for God's text message of the day. Before Sprint, T-Mobile, AT&T had text messaging, God had already given us the greatest text message of all, and that is the word of God. And we need to find ourselves forwarding that word out so that others could be blessed by what God has to say to his people. And then we must reply to God's text message by applying it to our lives so that others can see God's good work in us every day. So today, God's text message of the day. Adrian, I don't know why to keep going on you. But it's okay. God's text message of the day comes from Psalms 103, verse 13. And it says, like a father pitieth his children, so the Lord pitieth them that fear him. That's for the dads out there. Like as a father pitieth his children, so the Lord pitieth them that fear him. All right, the Lord loves us. God loves us. We are his children. He wants the best for us. He wants to do amazing things for us. All we have to do is surrender our life to him, live for him, let his light shine in us so that others can see his good work in us. All right, so that's God's text message of the day, Psalms chapter 103, verse 13. Remember, if nobody told you that I love you, Jesus loves you, and there ain't a thing you can do about that. Thank you for tuning into the Inspirational Diva Show. And again, you can hear me every Saturday at 10 a.m. on Facebook and on YouTube. Guys, thank you all so much for being on the show. God bless you. Happy Father's Day. And that's it. Bye.
Home Care Network brings healthcare in the comfort of your home. Our skilled nurses can cover everything that you would get in a hospital, from wound care management, pulmonary and cardiac care, medication management, and physical, occupational, speech therapy, x-rays, and more. Home Care Network has 3 locations in DeSoto, Rockwall, and Palestine. Visit homecarenetwork.com or on Facebook at Home Care Network TX. Home Care Network, the care you need in the comfort of your home.